Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well on this Wednesday morning. The weather is absolutely horrible here in England. It's tipping down with rain. Autumn has fully settled in. But as always, we're back with another massive show to bring you guys this morning. But before we jump into that, please do me one small favour. Smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 500 likes on today's episode. And if this is your first time watching today, please also subscribe to the channel. It's completely free to subscribe. It doesn't cost you any money. Make sure you go and get involved. Right. So lots and lots of topics to discuss today. We're going to be talking a bit about Thomas Tuchel, a little bit about Manuel Ugarte, who seems to have picked up an injury on international duty for Uruguay. Also talking about Antony, who apparently is going to be put up for sale in January. Lots of other stuff to get into as always. But yeah, let's start off with the big story of the day, shall we? And let's talk about Thomas Tuchel. So, anybody who's been living under a rock for the last 24 hours, it was confirmed yesterday evening by Fabrizio Romano that apparently Thomas Tuchel has signed his contract as the New England manager. You thought it was going to be Man United, didn't you? But it's not. It's England. I mean, I don't really know what to say, to be honest. I'm in shock. Thomas Tuchel is the next England manager. From an England's perspective, let's be honest, Thomas Tuchel is a massive upgrade on Gareth Southgate or Lee Carsley. Let's just say that. I know this isn't an England channel, but, you know, let's react to that bit of news. In relation to Manchester United, which is, of course, what we're all here for, am I bothered that Thomas Tuchel's now off the market? Not really, to be honest. Should Erik ten Hag be sacked? Maybe. But for me personally, Thomas Tuchel wasn't the solution. You know, like, Thomas Tuchel's the kind of manager who goes to a club, he's there for 18 months, he seems to fall out with the board, he has issues with players, he doesn't stay for very long, he's not a project manager, and I just don't really see the point. People will say, oh, well, he wins trophies, but Erik ten Hag wins trophies as well, you know? Yes, we're not playing good football, but Erik ten Hag has won us a trophy in back-to-back seasons. And I don't honestly think that Thomas Tuchel will achieve much more than what Erik ten Hag would at Manchester United. I think he might win you an FA Cup. He might win you a League Cup. You know, he might get you top four every now and again. But I don't think he's going to take us from where we are now to winning the Premier League, to be completely honest. And I think the main reason for that is because if you look at his track record, he never stays at a club long enough to kind of rebuild it properly. You know, he goes into a team like Bayern Munich or PSG, like they're already there ready to win the league. And he didn't actually win the league with Bayern Munich last season and then got sacked. So, I just think, as I've said to you many, many times before, I think we're so far away from being in a position to challenge that bringing in a short-term manager like Thomas Tuchel, who will probably only be here for 18 months, is not going to be long enough, you know? Like, we need someone who's going to be here for 5-10 years to properly build. And I know most football fans don't have the patience for that. Most football fans are expecting us to win the league in this season. You know, it's Erik ten Hag's third full season. Why are we not winning the league? But that's just not how football works anymore in the modern day, especially with the amount of wealth that's in the Premier League when teams like Aston Villa, Newcastle, they've got richer owners than we have now. And obviously with Man City winning the case against the Premier League in relation to being allowed to use sponsors owned by their own club, it means that money will probably be easier to spend now. I know before it was made a little bit more difficult, but with Man City winning this court case, apparently it will be easier now for teams like Newcastle to use their connected owners' sponsorships into the club. So yeah, it's something to bear in mind. Will he do well for England? Maybe he'll be the one to, you know, break the, 60 years without a trophy for England. Maybe that will work. But yeah, I'm going to be honest, I'm not that bothered about Thomas Tuchel not coming to Manchester United. You know, should Erik ten Hag be replaced? Maybe. There's a strong argument for Erik ten Hag to lose his job. I would agree with that 100%. But the thing that I've always circled back to is when I look at the options that were available, as in available meaning don't have a contract with another club, okay? There wasn't really anybody out there for me, you know? Thomas Tuchel doesn't really excite me. I mean, who else is there really? I'm trying to think off the top of my head who else we've been linked to. Gareth Southgate's already said he doesn't want the job. He wants to have a year off, so he's out of the question. People like Zidane's obviously not going to come to Manchester United. We know that. He doesn't speak English, and he said he doesn't want to manage in the Premier League. So, yeah, I think it probably does buy Erik ten Hag a little bit more time. And if we're talking about a managerial perspective now, my preference, if I did have to pick at this point, if someone put me on the spot and said, Well, if you're not Erik ten Hag out, what do you want? I would say give him till the end of the season. I know people will be like, oh, that's throwing away the season, blah, blah, blah. I mean, what do you really expect from this season now? We're not going to win the league, obviously. To get top 4 now, I think would still be quite difficult. Although we are only 6 points off top 4, People are making out that, it's a 20-point gap. It is only 6 points. Chelsea are on 14 points and we are on 8 points. Yeah, 6 points. It's not that much, really. If we were to go on a bit of a run and win like 3 or 4 games in a row, that's a massive if, because we probably won't do that. But if we did, we could easily get, closer to top 4 and it could then be achievable. But for me personally, I would probably just stick with Erik ten Hag for as long as we physically can. And then just wait and try and find the best manager available, and get the manager we actually want, not just somebody who's a short-term fix. If I had to pick somebody, if someone said you have to pick a name, I think there's 2 different options, 2 different routes that you can go down, right? There's the route of the kind of experienced option, which is more like the people like Ancelotti. Obviously, Ancelotti's expected to leave Real Madrid at the end of this season. Would I go for Ancelotti? Probably not, but I'm just giving you an example, the more experienced route. Or you go for the younger option. You go for the more of the project manager. And I think, the name that's really shining out to me is Ruben Amorim, but he's not available right at this moment. He's available at the end of the season. There is apparently a release clause in his Sporting Lisbon contract, which says he can leave at the end of this season for a fee of around 10 million euros, which is like 7 or 8 million pounds. And I think that sounds like more of an attractive proposal. You give Ineos and Erik ten Hag the rest of this season. You let Dan Ashworth, Omar Barada, etc. really monitor these players, really monitor the culture at the club under Erik ten Hag. Because remember, Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth only actually officially started working like 7-8 weeks ago. It's not very long to turn things around. 8 weeks is literally nothing if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, right? So I think, Thomas Tuchel coming in, I think would have been a disaster for me personally. And I think, we've actually maybe dodged a bit of a bullet there. So yeah, it does look like Erik ten Hag will probably, well, based on that, he probably has earned a couple more points in the bank, hasn't he? By way of his safety. But it'd be interesting to see what you guys will think about this. How do you feel about Thomas Tuchel going to the England job? How do you feel? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Yeah, I'm not that bothered. I'm not that fussed. Not for me. But I'd be interested to see what you guys all think. So that's the latest on Thomas Tuchel. Let's move on to Manuel Ugarte then, shall we? So this came out obviously a couple of hours ago. He was playing against Ecuador in I think it was a World Cup qualifier for Uruguay. And apparently he came off in the 82nd minute because of an injury. Now, we're still waiting to find out exactly what this injury is. He wasn't stretchered off or anything, so that's obviously a positive. But yeah, Manuel Ugarte injured in international duty for Uruguay. And Christian Eriksen, Martinez, all of the other players seem to have got through the international break without any injury. So it looks like it's just Manuel Ugarte, who, from what I can see, had a really good game until that point as well. He had some really good stats, 89% pass accuracy, 4 key tackles, 2 interceptions. Like, he was having a really, really good game, 57 touches of the ball. Really, really dominating performance, and then unfortunately got injured and had to come off. So hopefully he's okay. Obviously, I'll keep you updated as and when we get more news on that one. Let's move over to Antony. So I don't really know how to react to this story, to be honest, because for me, Antony is just the most strangest situation. We pay, what, £80 million, was it? Something around there. It was a lot of money. £80 million for Antony, okay? And we now literally don't know what to do with him. Even the manager who signed him doesn't want to play him. And now we're in a position where Manchester United are reportedly willing to let him leave on loan in the January transfer window. Or they're willing to let him leave for as little as £10 million. That's what's being reported this morning. Oh, it's just one of those ones, isn't it, where it's another failed transfer by the old kind of guard of Manchester United, the John Murtaughs, the Richard Arnolds, the Ed Woodwards. Like, I don't know. I guess you do just have to rub your hands of it and just say, it was a mistake. We messed up. Let's not repeat the same mistake. He's still got 3 years left of his contract. 2 years into his Manchester United deal, or 2.5 years in. I don't know. I mean, 10 million is literally a joke, isn't it? But yeah, I'm just having a look. We paid 95 million euros for him, and they're reportedly asking for a fee of around 15 to 20 million. So what's that? Like 75 million euros loss. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting, isn't it? But I guess all you have to do is live and learn and just never repeat these same mistakes again. I mean, is there a world, someone was talking to me about this the other day, where Antony ends up playing at left back? I mean, people were talking about this. Obviously, he's left-footed, and he does work hard defensively. He is quite good defensively. And obviously, we don't have any left-backs at the moment, with potentially Mazraoui being out until November. So our only fullback is Diogo Dalot. Now, I think it's a bit of a stretch for me to see Antony playing at left-back, but at this point, we've spent 95 million euros on him. We need to try and make it work in some way. And if it working is him covering at left back for a few games, at least then, if it works, then at least then on our heads we can say, okay, well, it's not what we actually signed him for, but we've got something out of this deal. Because as it stands at the moment, all we've got out of it is a massive loss, realistically. We've got a player who can't even get in the team by the manager who signed him, So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this Antony story unfolds. But at the moment, it's, not looking particularly great for him, is it? Yeah, maybe the left back option maybe that is the option for him. But as I said, I think, seeing Antony play at left back is a little bit of a stretch for me. And I don't think, I don't think most Manchester United fans would be happy about that. Right, the next story I've got for you is obviously this big one that broke yesterday about Sir Alex Ferguson. And I wanted to get you guys' opinions on this. So I'll read out all of the different bits and then we can kind of react to it. So the first bit is this. Apparently Sir Alex Ferguson has been asked not to enter the dressing room at Old Trafford anymore, breaking a tradition that stretches back to the days of Sir Matt Busby. Okay. I mean, I don't know who said this. I guess it must be Ineos, Jim Ratcliffe, Dave Brailsford. I don't really know how to react to this because for me personally, Sir Alex Ferguson obviously is the greatest manager of all time and he should effectively be allowed to do what he wants. But then at the same time, it's like Sir Alex Ferguson's been on the board of Manchester United for the last 11 years since he obviously left his role as the manager. And maybe that has been why we've been stuck in the past at points. Like, I don't know. I just think with Sir Alex, you have to give him what he wants, really. Like Man United wouldn't be anywhere near the size it is as a club if it wasn't for Sir Alex Ferguson. That's a fact, right? But yeah, so that was the first bit. And then the other bit is that apparently Sir Alex Ferguson's going to be removed as one of the board directors. So he's not going to be on the board anymore and he's not going to be paid by the club. Apparently he receives millions of pounds a year by Manchester United to be an ambassador and he sits on the board. So effectively he has some involvement in some of the decisions. Now, I think it's only minor, but he does have a say. He does have a voice. And Eric Cantona has reacted to this story. Eric Cantona has said the following. He says, Sir Alex Ferguson should be able to do anything he wants at the club until the day he dies. It's such a lack of respect. It's totally scandalous. Sir Alex Ferguson will be my boss forever. And I throw them all in the... he says, and I throw them all in a big bag of shit. So I think he's referring to Ineos there. That was Eric Cantona's words, saying that Sir Alex Ferguson will be his boss forever and he wants to throw all of Ineos in a big bag of poo. Okay, fair enough. That I wasn't expecting to read that on a Wednesday morning, but there you go. But the thing with these types of stories, right, you only ever hear one side of it. Sir Alex Ferguson is obviously aging. Is there a world where maybe he's like, I don't want to be having to go to board meetings. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. I mean, that's probably the more likely situation here. He's 82 years old, Sir Alex Ferguson, and he's currently sat on the board of the biggest club in the world, having to make decisions or being part of a decision-making team. I mean, it does kind of make sense. 82 years old. He still can obviously go to the games and stuff, but I don't know. It's obviously one of those ones where it's going to cause a lot of uproar. There's going to be people saying it's a disgrace and all the rest of it, but you only really focus on the Sir Alex Ferguson leaves role opposed to 82-year-old man retires. I mean, he's 83 in a couple of weeks. If the story was this, right? 83-year-old man retires from job, people would be like, why the hell is an 83-year-old still working? But because when you look at it in the context of Sir Alex Ferguson leaves Manchester United, Ineos have got rid of him, it's like, we don't know both sides of this. And I think, in hindsight, I don't think Ineos would be stupid enough to, within 6 months of getting partial ownership of Manchester United, to fire the most important manager in our history. Like, I just don't think that would be the case. So I think the more likely story here is really that Sir Alex is old, he's 83, and he probably just wants to retire and relax. And I wish him all the best with that because, yeah. But yeah, I think obviously people like to spin the story to make it more of a scandal, to shout at Ineos and all the rest of it. I'm sure Sir Alex Ferguson is still going to be sorted out. It's not like he's going to be, having to beg for money. Like, I'm sure he's perfectly fine. Just because he's not in this big money ambassador role, I'm sure he's fine, So yeah, I think the most likely option, as I said, is that he's probably just wanting to retire. But obviously that doesn't make a story, If Sky Sports said Sir Alex Ferguson to retire, people would be like, oh, that's amazing, that's great. But instead they spin it like, Sir Alex Ferguson leaving role, Ineos get rid of him, blah, blah, blah. And it makes it a lot more dramatic, doesn't it? So yeah, I don't think it's as bad as some people have, as people have making out. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. I've gone through everything I had planned for today's show. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me on the show this morning. Please do make sure to drop a like and subscribe before you leave. Shows will be a bit more regular once football starts again. I'm just doing one a day at the moment. There isn't that much to talk about, so I'd rather just kind of put it all into one show than do like loads and loads of little shows and just talk about the same thing over and over again. It gets a little bit tedious. So yeah, I hope you don't mind the one show kind of structure at the moment. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe. This has been Daily Red Devil. I'll speak to you all on the next one. Bye for now.